afternoon and welcome to the Small Business Cheerleader podcast. I'm Nicola from NW Marketing and I'm joined today by Zara from the Embellishment Emporium, cake decorating. And she's 15, an amazing entrepreneur. And we're going to talk about all things launching and promoting a new business online. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Nicola, for having me on your podcast.
No problems. I know that you reached out and I think it's amazing because when we're talking about small businesses and support and building them online, we tend to talk about those that are a little bit older. But these days, and I know for a fact from my own children, that 15-year-olds know what they're doing online and they've got something to contribute. So I want to talk about how you got to where you got and all the, the pitfalls and the challenges and the wins along the way. So firstly, feel free to introduce yourself and what it is that you're going through so that we can, get on to talking about the big issues.
Sure. So my name is Zara. I am 15, as Nicola said. I own Embellishment Emporium, which is a cake decorating business. Now, Embellishment Emporium came from a passion. I always grew up with being surrounded by all these great cooks, and particularly something that stood out to me was all these magnificent cakes they'd make. I was one that could never ice a cake. I was always the one who was playing with fondant or doing something with my hands, and so I kind of leaned towards the fondant side rather than icing, and that's what something inspires me to continue doing with my business.
I love it because that's the thing. It's passion, isn't it? When you find a passion, that's what keeps you going. And that's what I say to most small business owners. If you can find your why and you know what it is that you love and what lights you up, you will be able to find a business that keeps you motivated because you have that passion. So what was it that motivated you to get started with your particular business and how did that come about?
Yeah, so I grew up with a lot of cooks. I always looked up to them at their amazing dishes and especially the desserts. I'm a sweet tooth. I love sweets. And so I would look at them make all these amazing cakes and cupcakes and, I'd be inspired. I think my dad has a video of me trying to ice this cake with my tongue sticking out because I'm trying to get all the even sides. And so that's where it started off. And so I then tried getting with icing. It's not my strong suit. I then got onto fondant and I realized that I rather like having a lot of control with the fondant. Maybe call me control freak, but I like using the fondant, and especially I started to make roses and everyone was like, oh, that's really nice, you should do something. And I was like, oh, maybe I should. And then that's where it started.
I love it because people can go to your Instagram and I'll put the links obviously in the bio for this podcast, but your creations are amazing. And I think that's where your creative flair comes in. Like you said, you found the fondant and you could make things, and it's really about creating things. And that's what I love about it, because with cake decorating in particular, it is, isn't it? It's about creating a piece of art for someone and it can be so individually tailored because you're literally creating something from scratch for someone.
Yeah, it's I think it's something that everyone should definitely try. I think baking is something that even if you're not good at it, you should still have a go at it. It's something that it fires something in you in a way. It gets you on your creative side. I wouldn't consider myself very creative, but I was never good at arts and painting. But I guess in a baking sense, maybe so. But yeah, it's definitely something you've got to try, baking.
Oh, look, I'm very bad at it, but there's times when I've made, like this weekend, and I put on my Instagram stories, was that I made, I think it was Vegemite scrolls, and I made scones from scratch without using any pastry for the Vegemite scrolls. And I was like, oh my God, who dis? Because I don't know what I was. And I was like folding stuff together to make butter and bread. I don't know. But the satisfaction of that stuff coming out and looking like your nana made a scone, I was like, what is this? So I can see how it gets those juices flowing. It's like people have yoga and people do things, and sometimes baking is that outlet, and I can see why. But for someone who's 15, now you've got school, obviously.
Yeah.
So how do you balance both of those with building a business, which you're doing, and also making sure that you're keeping on top of your school stuff?
I am a person who I have to be constantly doing something. I can't just sit in one spot and maybe watch a movie. I have to be constantly thinking about something, constantly searching something up, getting vision boards. I guess that's where I balance my business. I I like to sometimes even just sit down in the library, just concentrate, put some music on. Like I like to get in that vibe because I am one who hates having work overdue. I need to get it done. I don't like having things until the very last minute. And so that's where in a sense, I balance school. It's not like I wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning. I'm gonna go do my homework. I'm gonna then go for a run. It's never like that. I just take things at my own pace, and I just live with life. I move on. If I have something due, I'll do it. I won't. Well, I don't want to wait till the last minute.
I love that because you have that balance right. Because people told me years ago, life work balance, especially if you're young and you've got other things on, or even when I started out, when you have really young kids, it's about making sure that you have all your saucepans on the stove and you just move one off and on as you need them. So you have them all there, you move them on and off when you need them. And I think that as a visual helped me. It's like you're not doing anything wrong. You're just taking one off while you focus on cooking the other, and then you put it back on. And I think you just said that beautifully. Sometimes I need to be all in my schoolwork and sometimes I need to be in the business. And some days I can do both, some days I can't. And I think if you have that mindset going into it, that's when you'll be able to have the success, because people get in their mind and they get all up in the guilt of I'm not giving my business enough, or I'm not giving school. And I think you've got a wonderful mindset from the beginning. What have you learned on this journey so far in regards to mindset or just setting a business up? Because I mean, even myself at 48, I can get in my head about a whole lot of stuff. So at 15, how did you find it, and what sort of tips do you have for anyone who might be on this journey of launching or promoting a brand new business online?
Well, I think something, because I am an only child, I always turn to my parents if I have any ideas. I think that something, if you are starting a business, something that you should do is definitely talk to a lot of people. I have came up with great ideas from talking with a lot of people, especially with my website. I've found I've been talking to a lot of digital, in the digital world, kind of like a lot of artistic people. And so just talking to them and saying, hey, how does my website look? Do you think it looks okay? Oh, no, I think you should change this color because it clashes with this color. I think you should do this and that. So I absolutely recommend just having a chat with anyone, or your friends, your family, maybe even saying, hey, do you like cake decorating? What do you want? Do you think that me selling cake toppers is something you'd buy? Would you like seeing little spatulas? Do you think you need those in your kitchen? It's just, I think I live by talking to people, especially with ideas.
100%. And people that know me and what I talk about in regards to support in small business and making sure that there's a networking environment, as you said, whether that's your family, friends, digital creatives, or if it's somebody in a Facebook networking group that you're in. Or I usually find getting support at whatever stage you're at for whatever you're trying to do is the best. I had group coaching programs I was in for launching online products because that's where I was. Or I had coaching groups when I was looking to scale, because you need to be surrounded by people who are doing the same thing. So those sorts of, and then of course you need to have what are called expanders, those people who are already doing what you're doing, and you can look to them for advice or even inspiration, because you need to have expanders to show you what's possible for what you're in. So highly recommend that to all people, because support is what it's all about. If you're trying to figure stuff out by yourself, it will take you longer and you will get in your head. So focus groups, or I'm doing a beat around for a course, a group program that I'm launching, because I want to know for sure before I start putting money on something, is this what people want? Is it working for you? And how can I change it to make it better, so that when you are actually going to launch, you actually know your product is 100% on point. And I usually find that that's the best way to go. Some form of focus group or testing or something. You don't want to be throwing stuff against a wall and see if it sticks, because that's where you lose all your marketing dollars, because you don't really know if it's wanted in the market. And like you said, you're asking people, you're saying, do you want this? Do you want that? what do you want me to do, and what I'm doing now, how is that working for you? And I think that's an amazing trait to have already, because believe me, people don't have that for many years to come and have lost lots of money in just being, I know what people want, I'm going to give them this. And then they're like, oh shit, that's not what I wanted at all. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I just spent 6 months creating that. Well, good luck to you. You might need to start again. So yeah, highly recommended. Now, we were talking about the era of technology. So you're 15, you'd be a hell of a lot more advanced than all of us. But how do you find it for launching a business online? What have you gone to? What are your go-to tips?
So I think maybe even going back to my website, it is very important to have a very eye-appealing website, Instagram post, because that's something that people will be looking towards. In the past, my website, I guess it didn't really reflect of what my business, or what Embellishment Emporium really tried to get out. It was a blank website with just some words, and that was it. And I think that it is, like, from what I've come from, it's absolutely important to be caring about your visuals, for one, and maybe even taking advantage of the new marketing, social media, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok. I personally don't have TikTok because I think I'd get a bit too addicted. I'll be scrolling too long. But I think it's in that way, in a sense, that you can get connected with a lot more people. My recent reel, I got about 7,700 views, and that was large. That was huge. And I am still gobsmacked because I've never, like, I don't know, I was talking to some friends and they were just like, oh, I know someone famous now. So
yeah,
it's
that's
amazing.
it. And you got, what people don't realize is by putting time into reels, that's free. You know what, it's time, obviously your time, but that is free organic advertising. And if you've got stuff to back that up in regards to, if people obviously check you out from that reel, if you have a website and a good social media presence and you're consistent, that will convert over time. The more consistent you are with reels, the more people will see you. And when they're thinking of you, if you have a product, you will come top of mind. And that's the whole point. How to stand out in a crowded market is coming down to having a presence online that's consistent, because people do it and then they drop off, and they do it and they drop off. And then some people don't put posts up for, well, goddamn months even. And I've seen Facebook pages that are not active for 2 years and the business is still going. I'd rather nothing than that. So if you're going to be consistent, even if it's 2 or 3 a week, I'd highly recommend that, because people want to know that you're really invested in what you're doing. It's not just a, go, stop. People go, well, what's the problem? Why are they no longer on there? Have they gone under? Is there an issue? And you don't want any of that. And Reels is the new way to go. And collaborations in Reels is the latest way to be seen by similar audiences to those that you have. And a lot of people are taking advantage of those now, which is awesome, because that any way you can be seen to your target audience, do it. And you reached out and you're doing an awesome job in regards to collaborations. I love that. As you said, just ask people, DM people, hey, I do this. I think our audiences will align really well. Do you want to do a reel together? Do you want to do an Instagram post with, we can do, be proactive. Hey, and I think that that's the way to go now, I believe.
Yeah. Actually, I'm doing a partnership with the Hunger Project, a charity.
Yes.
And it's, I think that it's amazing, because as a food business, I have always been so grateful for what I have, to be able to even start a business at home from my laptop, to be able to go and get the supplies needed, and to have those people around me to support me. And so that's where I slowly thought to, reach out to people who don't have those things. And so the Hunger Project is a non-for-profit charity that targets people who are dealing with poverty, and they do an amazing job at it. They've been so helpful, especially with supporting. If I have any ideas, they'll be like, that's amazing, our team loves it. And that's sometimes, as a small business owner, you really need that some sort of joy from all those little comments you get. When I saw that email from you, I swear I jumped around the house. I was running up and down, I was screaming, and my parents were like, are you okay? What happened? But I think it's generally important to have that kind of motivation.
Yeah, and you can only ever get that from putting yourself out there, isn't it? And it's that saying of everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
And that is one of my favorite ones, because we put it, do you want to be safe or do you want to be successful? And you can't have both. So by, all people can say is no. Why do people not? I don't understand why people don't get that. All they can say is no. And
Exactly.
so you move on to the next one. So, people just need to start realizing that collaborations is the way of the future, to start that process rolling for them and see the difference. Because as you say, those little comments you get or the responses of a yes are the things that keep you going. Otherwise, how else are you going to be, motivated and inspired if you're not having interactions with other people and getting responses back from your ideal clients of, wow, you're doing great, or I love that, and you're like, I'm on the right track, and that makes you motivated to keep going and going. So what do you find, what are your goals for the business? So going forward, where do you see it going? You're obviously a side hustle now because you're still at school.
Yeah.
And is it something you'd love to grow into a full-time business after school, or you'd love to keep it as a side hustle because it's a passion? What are you feeling?
I think for now, depending on how the next year goes, it will be a side hustle. I maybe there can be a future where Embellishment Emporium goes to a shop where we open a branch, potentially. But for now, I am just, again, trying to balance a lot of things. So it's very important to not do too much of something and too little of something else. Just,
it's passion projects, and I think passion projects keep us going. And sometimes when we're ready, those passion projects can become something that's bigger than bigger than us even, and that's the thing. But I think to keep the passion project alive is what makes every day important, because you've got something you love and you've got something at the end of the day that can motivate you. And I think that that's important. Some people have, like I said, they have yoga and they love all that, or some people cook every weekend because it inspires them. And I love that people have that, because if you don't, what else are you doing? Really, all you do is work and come home and watch Netflix. It's nice to have something in between. Otherwise, you don't meet any new people. Now, what's going to happen next with the website? So you're going to put product up on the website, is that right? Or are you going to be launching different things as you grow?
Yes. So currently I will be launching some new products, hopefully in the next month, to the website. Some exciting things, but you obviously have to see the Embellishment Emporium website and my Instagram to see when it comes out. But yeah, lots of new products that hopefully it will, get you into baking.
I love that. So Embellish Emporium is where we want to send everyone, because we want them to support your journey and follow, because it's only going to grow from here. So I think to see it from where it is to where, like you say, when you start launching products online, your website grows and more reels. And I think that's an exciting journey. That first part of business is scary as hell, but it's also really exciting, because you're seeing your baby grow into something that you and only you have created. And I think that that's exciting. So I'll be watching for sure, because I want to see how it all turns out. And I want to see that, that there's new growth in stages. And like you said, the next stage you're looking at putting product up, and then what will the next one be? So you set yourself little goals in business and you tick them off as you go, because people have this massive goal at the end and they're like, I want to do this in 10 years, which is fantastic. They're called big, hairy, audacious goals, or BHAGs. We need them in business to keep us inspired, but we tend not to celebrate the small ones. And then we get despondent because it's not 10 years yet and we're not there. So I tell all of my clients, set 90-day goals that are in line with an annual goal, which are then in line with a 3, 5, and 10-year goal. If you work backwards, as you tick them off, you'll be getting closer. So that should inspire you. You're getting closer. Okay, products online. Next one, revamp this or do that, and tick them off and just realize how far you're coming. Or at the very least, write down everything you've done once a month. And
actually
pat yourself on the back. That's what I think people forget to do as small business owners. We get so stuck in our head.
Yeah, actually talking about goals, it was my goal to get onto a podcast. Because I've seen all these TV shows of all these people, saying, okay, I have to go down to just to speak on my podcast. I'll be right back. I'll be back to work. And that's just something I wish I could do. And now it's happened. And so it's my goal.
Oh my God, I would love, not to add anything to your plate, but I'd love to see a podcast of you eventually just sharing your journey, and just going through and, even if it's just a personal podcast where you're just downloading for half an hour what you do, I think people will love that, because the journey from a younger person into business, I think, is always so inspiring. So, and for you to want to be on a podcast is fantastic. And the fact that you found me and approached me is even more exciting, so that I get to share your journey. And you'll be able to hopefully do many more from now, and just sort of get the word out, because once you find what your vision is, whatever that may be, you just find people that align with it. Like you found me, and I can align with that. And then you'll find other podcasts that will be a great support. And that is where you want to focus for sure, because people want to hear people's inspiring journeys, and that's, I think, more important than the whole, what do you call it? The highlight reel, that everyone's perfect life and perfect business. That's why podcasts have been so great, that people can share the bad times, the challenges. I mean, so what have you found the challenge to be so far? What's your biggest challenge? Is it time? Is it like what to do next? Or what have you found your biggest challenge to be?
Well, I think my biggest challenge is sometimes there's just those days where, I'm like, should I have done this? Should I have gone into this direction? Was it a good idea? And I want people to know that it's not always, butterflies and rainbows. I'm not always going to be, okay, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. I'm going to go do this. There's always times where I'm going to wake up at 8 a.m. That's okay. And I think that it's something like a challenge of mine is just sometimes I also overwhelm myself a lot. I always am like, okay, I have this schoolwork to do and then I have this business. Oh my goodness, I'm not going to finish it. And, I think that's a really big challenge of mine. I don't know how I've come so far behind it right now. But yeah, it's definitely a big challenge of mine.
Yeah, at least you can, what is it? You can identify it and focus, it. A lot of people don't even feel it in themselves, like they don't, or they don't think that they should feel a certain way. I've always told clients, if they're having bad periods, to sit in it, to feel it, to know it's okay that you feel it, and then to move on. So you sit for a day in it, you feel like shit, you write everything down, you journal it out, you just get it on paper, make an action plan for it, and you move on the next day. But you have to feel it. The more you push away from it, that's when you lead to burnout, because you're not addressing it, you're just pushing it away. And that's where I think mental health has become such a big thing these days, in regards to acknowledging that, because we tend to, as small business owners, push everything away, try to be perfect for our kids, our family, our school, our everything, and be a small business owner. And sometimes it's just bullshit. It doesn't work. So I'd love people to just sometimes be a bit more honest about, today's shit, I feel shit. I'm going to sit here and watch Netflix and eat a whole bucket of ice cream because I can. And then tomorrow I'm going to get up and get my shit together. So the more they do that, the better, I think. But but we need inspiration as well. Can't all be doom and gloom, otherwise 100%. We'll all lose our mind. Now, so where can people find you? Obviously on Instagram and your website. Is that your main two? So Embellishment Emporium on both?
Yeah, so my website is embellishmentemporium.com.au, and my Instagram is also the same. You can email me at admin@embellishmentemporium.com.au.
Awesome. Now, you're based in Melbourne, yes?
Yes.
Awesome. So, so anyone in the Melbourne area listening, you have your perfect fondant queen ready. Check her out, because you can see all her work on her Instagram and stuff. Now, Zara, it's been awesome to have you on the podcast, and I'm so excited you reached out, because I've had so much fun chatting with you today and in the lead up to this and going forward, I'm sure. So thank you so much. And I will be following your journey, and 15-year-olds rock, and basically you can do anything. So if you're a small business owner at 45 and you're worried about yourself, get your shit together, because 15-year-olds are taking over. Thanks for that. Is there anything you wanted to say before we finish up?
Just thank you so much, Nicola, for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it. You've made a dream come true.
Good. Tick it off the bucket list. It's all about ticking off goals, we just said before. So I love that. All right, girl. I'll talk to you soon, but thank you for coming on, and see you later.
Thank you. Bye.